Okay, so have you ever finished a really, really compelling boys' love series? You know, the kind that just grabs you.
Oh,
You're
absolutely.
rooting for them through all the drama, the tears, and then finally they get that moment, that connection.
Mm-hmm.
The camera lingers, the music swells, credits roll,
Yeah.
and you just kind of sit there,
Yeah. Just staring, motionless. Maybe let out a sigh.
right? That feeling, that lingering ache.
It's almost universal in the fandom, isn't it? That sense that, okay, the big emotional peak happened, but something's missing.
Yeah, like it stopped mid-thought or something.
Exactly. It feels unresolved.
So that's what we're diving into today, this really distinct emotional texture you get with BL endings. Often bittersweet, kind of open, full of yearning.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking at the materials you shared, asking, why do they so often feel unfinished? Is this ambiguity, like a deliberate artistic thing?
Right. Is it design or is it sometimes more practical industry stuff?
That's the question. Our mission today is to unpack that tension. Why does this genre seem to, well, resist the neat little bow?
And what we're finding is that this lack of neat finality, this sort of search for closure that doesn't quite get fulfilled, it's actually key.
Key to its appeal.
Yeah, central to understanding its unique structure. We're kind of calling it the poetics of the unfinished ending.
I like that. Poetics of the unfinished ending. Okay, let's dig in. Starting with this idea of it being a stylistic choice, focusing on potential.
Right.
Because when you really look at those final scenes, the research suggests it's less about definitive closure like they lived happily ever after.
Definitely not that.
It's more about potential. A moment hanging in the air, right, on the edge of something good, but not quite confirming it.
Precisely. And they use specific tools for this, very subtly. Like a quiet look that goes on just a beat too long.
Or that little half smile. It suggests relief, maybe, but not like permanent bliss.
Exactly. Or just a simple open promise like, see you tomorrow. It intentionally leaves space.
Space for the viewer.
Yeah, for you to interpret what happens next. They don't spell out the how.
I think I told Sunset About You is a perfect example of this, right? It doesn't tie everything up.
Oh, absolutely. It ends on such an emotional high. You feel it intensely.
But you're also a bit lost because the what next isn't laid out. They love each other, sure, but not the day-to-day stuff.
And that, the sources argue, is the artistic point. It's a choice. Not to annoy you, but actually to keep that emotional resonance alive.
How does that work? Seems counterintuitive.
Well, the idea is this story stays alive because it's not fully over. By giving you potential, not concrete answers, it kind of forces you to imagine their future.
So it keeps your emotional connection active long after the credits.
Exactly. It becomes more personal.
Okay, but hang on. Doesn't leaving it so open sometimes feel a bit, I don't know, disrespectful to the characters? They went through so much.
That's a really fair point.
Are we just, like, accepting less satisfying storytelling because it's common in the genre?
Yeah.
Shouldn't we want a proper conclusion sometimes?
It's a valid critique, and it leads us right into the next layer. This idea of the unresolved character arc.
Okay.
If we accept that the main goal is emotional intensity, that feeling, then the story structure might actually prioritize that over a neat, tidy resolution.
Right. So we get invested in their vulnerabilities, their journey,
Yeah.
self-discovery, fear, growth, accepting themselves, accepting each other. It's all very intense.
Deeply intense.
But then the story wraps up just as they reach that understanding,
Right.
right? When they're maybe starting to really thrive together.
Exactly. We see all the hard parts, the struggle.
But not the everyday part, the normalization.
Precisely. The research points out these narrative gaps, we feel. Like, maybe it ends right after the big confession.
Yeah. And you're left thinking, okay, but what about their families
Mm.
or work or just being out?
All those practicalities, totally unaddressed. Or another common one. You have these huge conflicts, like a betrayal or something deep.
Uh-huh.
And then the forgiveness in the final episode feels really quick, almost too easy.
Yeah, sometimes it feels a bit unearned because you don't see them actually work through repairing things.
Right. And probably the most frequent gap, ending at the moment of union. Holding hands on the beach, fade to black.
Before we see them actually live that relationship, dealing with mundane stuff, jobs, pressures, just being a couple.
We want to see that, but the curtain falls.
So if the story's purpose was getting them to that point, overcoming hurdles, why do we feel this, like, unfinished business so strongly?
Because the genre trains us, in a way, to value that journey, the emotional roller coaster, the angst, the relief.
Wow.
Once they achieve connection, the primary narrative engine for some of these stories has done its job. It flips the script, you could say.
How so?
In a lot of traditional stories, the resolution is the payoff here. Maybe the yearning for more becomes part of the payoff itself.
Okay, that reframes it. So the feeling isn't just dissatisfaction. It's more like intense longing. We just don't want to leave them.
Exactly right. The story gets you so invested emotionally that when the plot technically concludes, your investment hasn't.
Huh. That's actually quite clever. It guarantees you keep thinking about it.
It ensures sustained emotional investment.
Okay, so we've got this idea that a lot of this ambiguity is intentional art, high-level stuff, designed for emotional impact. But the sources are also pretty clear. Not all open endings are deep artistic statements, right? Sometimes it's just logistics.
Yeah, we absolutely have to be realistic here. Shift focus to the behind-the-scenes. Industry realities play a huge part.
Right.
The sources really emphasize that sometimes ambiguity isn't poetry. It's just practical necessity. Budget, time, market strategy.
So, like, what's the most common factor?
Adaptations and sequels, definitely.
Okay.
So many BL series come from novels or webtoons that go on way longer than one season can cover.
So leaving it open isn't just an option, it's almost required.
Pretty much. You need to keep that door open for season 2 or a spin-off or those, lucrative special episodes.
Which are often driven purely by fan demand, right? They see the engagement, they make more content.
Exactly. So that ambiguous ending might be baked into the plan from the very beginning, knowing they need pathways for more story.
And then there are just the basic production limits. Actor schedules must be a nightmare.
Oh, notoriously difficult, especially with rising stars. And, of course, limited budgets. Time constraints.
Things get cut.
Things definitely get cut. These constraints can lead to rushed endings that look like the intentional open style, but they're really just incomplete.
Can you give an example?
Well, the sources suggest maybe a complex reconciliation scene was planned, showing them navigate family issues or something, but it gets chopped down.
Why?
Maybe they lost a location, or an actor's contract was up, so it becomes just a quick symbolic chat instead.
Wow. So the showrunners have a tough choice. Cram everything in, making it feel rushed and maybe unbelievable.
Right, potentially unearned.
Or just end it earlier for the next complication and kind of rely on the audience to fill in that gap.
And this is where it gets really interesting, the irony of it all.
Okay.
What might actually start as a logistical fix, a hurried ending, because money ran out or whatever, can sometimes get absorbed into the genre's overall charm.
Wait, how?
The audience is already used to these open structures, right? So they might see that abrupt ending and not think mistake or ran out of time.
What do they think?
They retroactively romanticize it. They interpret it as, oh, we're just getting a glimpse, like a snapshot from a much bigger ongoing story.
So the necessity ends up reinforcing the artistic convention.
Pretty much. The audience is primed to accept unfinishedness, so they bridge the gap themselves, turning a constraint into an aesthetic feature. It's fascinating.
That really is fascinating.
Yeah.
And it brings us to this paradox of satisfaction. The idea that the yearning itself is what makes them stick with us.
Exactly. And looking at the analysis in the source material, there's a really key distinction here between closure and yearning. Closure, getting all the answers, it's satisfying for a moment, but structurally it's static. It's finished. Done.
Right. The story stops.
But yearning, that feeling of wanting more, that's dynamic.
Dynamic? How?
It's the engine. The lack of finality keeps the story buzzing in your head. It fuels discussion, fan theories, rewatching.
If everything was neatly tied up, you'd just move on.
Pretty much. The narrative momentum would just stop. By giving you something beautiful but incomplete, the ache itself becomes part of the art. It guarantees the story lasts longer in your mind.
And, okay, if the official story doesn't provide that closure, the community steps in. The fans.
Oh, massively. The fan base becomes almost like a co-creator.
How so?
Fan creation, fan fiction, art, those incredibly detailed video edits, they're not just like side hobbies.
No.
The sources frame them as acts of love that are explicitly filling the gaps left by the official show.
Right. That final ambiguous look on screen becomes like a 5-chapter fanfic about their wedding.
Or their first argument about chores.
Yes.
Fans take that potential and run with it.
Yep. So that participation is actually baked into the culture.
Totally integral. That lack of resolution isn't seen as a flaw by many fans. It's treated as an invitation.
An invitation from the creators.
Almost like a shared language. Creators lay the emotional groundwork, and they often expect, or at least welcome, the fans to keep that story alive, keep it bubbling.
Huh. So the story doesn't just belong to the studio once it airs. It becomes kind of communal property.
Sustained by that collective yearning. Yeah. The story doesn't really end with the credits. It just keeps echoing.
Like first love, maybe. That feeling of continuous discovery.
That's a great way to put it.
So when you boil it all down, what does this mean for you sitting there staring at the screen?
Right.
Maybe the beauty of that unfinished ending is that it feels real. Life isn't always neat conclusions.
Especially love, right? And maybe particularly queer love, which historically hasn't fit into tidy mainstream boxes. It is complex, evolving, ongoing.
So the story structure mirrors that reality.
It could be argued, yeah. And that yearning we feel isn't necessarily disappointment. It's actually proof.
Proof of what?
Proof of a deep connection. The story hit you hard enough that you genuinely don't want it to be over.
You want more time with them.
Exactly. That sustained desire, that refusal to let go. Maybe that is the most beautiful ending, the one that never fully lands but stays in motion.
Wow. Okay, so here's something to think about then. If the story really does live on through fan works, through community discussion, long after the creators are done, does the story ever truly get finished by the original creators? Or is it that act of continued imagining, that collective yearning from the audience, that ultimately defines the story as this shared communal thing?
That's the question to chew on, isn't it?
Definitely something to mull over next time you finish an episode and find yourself just staring at that blank screen.
Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing. It really helps the channel grow. See you in the next one.